Hello and welcome. Hope you're doing all right. I'm doing all good. It's been a while since I've done one of these. Well, that's a lie. I did do the Movers and Shakers part 2 video last weekend on a sunny Sunday afternoon, but unfortunately I opened a bottle of wine halfway through, and let's just say the quality dropped off by the end of it, and it's never that high to begin with. So yeah, I had to knock that one on the head. But we can go around and see the results of it because I've moved all the plants and they're pretty much where they need to be for winter. So yeah, this is just a tour video. We're in October now. It's actually a nice day today. We did hit 1 degree the other day. Luckily it wasn't a hard frost, so I think we're all good. Two sort of announcements just to make. First of all, is that I'm probably going to change the name of the channel in the next couple of months, just purely because I don't think I can be true to the brief. Had it been up to me, I would have, planted two monkey puzzles, a few Wollemi pines, some ginkgos, tree ferns and cycads and this, that and the other, and be done with it. But we've got other stakeholders in this garden, so yeah, people need somewhere to sunbathe and play, so it's a bit difficult to be true to that, because I feel if someone looks at a video, a channel which is sort of named Jurassic Garden, and then they see all of this, it's going to be like, wow, this isn't very Jurassic. So I'm going to keep the sort of Jurassic jungle theme, but probably just rename the channel something. I'll have a good think on it just to see if I can come up with something interesting, clever and witty, but I probably won't be able to, so it'll probably be something like Steve's Garden Diary or something like that. But that's just something coming up. I'll have to redesign the logo. Second thing is that I've reached the next stage of my garden design algorithm. That sounds really harsh because gardening should be done with the heart, if you see what I mean, but I like my garden design to be kind of orderly chaos, where I bring the order and the plants bring the chaos. So yeah, I have a sort of logical brain for the most part, so yeah, that's why I've come up with it. So just as a brief thing to say on that, last time I did say about the way I do it is I work in zones. So let's just say that that middle bed is a zone, the one over there behind the punch bag is a zone, the bit behind the climbing frame is a zone, the corner bit's a zone, blah 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 blah. And then within the zones it's split vertically into zones as well. So number one being ground cover and stuff hanging over, number two being sort of fern height, the bottom half of the fence, number three being the top half of the bottom half of the fence, and four being the bottom half of the top half of the fence, five being the top of the top half of the fence, and then six anything over. And the idea being is that as long as each zone, each number is in there, it doesn't matter, because some plants obviously take up two or three of those numbers, but as long as one of those is covered in each zone, then I know I've got all my bases covered. And then going on from that, I thought if I then work in different types of foliage, so I've got six sort of types of foliage that I've thought of. I'm not sure what the technical terms for are, but we'll go for it. So palmate, that would be something like the Scheffleras, like that sort of thing. Broad palmate, as I'm calling it, which would be like the fig tree, the fatsias, and the tetrapanax. Paddle shape, which is obviously your bananas, and when we're talking ferns, the heart's tongue ferns. And then tight foliage, which would be kind of like your conifers or the small maidenhair ferns or stuff that of that ilk. Feathery, which is going to be obviously a lot of the ferns. And then an other, which is good because it means that I can get flowers in there or something else, like that sort of Blechnum in the center of that middle bed coming towards us. That's kind of not feathery for a fern, but it's different, and I couldn't work out what it was scientifically. So yeah, so as long as the six zones are covered vertically and the six foliage types are covered, obviously there'll be overlap and this, that and the other, but as long as I can tick each of them off my list. And the beauty of it is that if I've got a plant that I need to do, so let's just take this middle bed for example. So we've got the palmate leaf in there, that's the Schefflera, we've got the feather, we've got the paddle, we've got the tight with the conifers, and this thing to the right of the atrata I put in there. So when I'm looking to replace one of the conifers, I haven't haven't got anything broad palmate in there, so I know that I need something that's broad palmate for there. And then when I go through the vertical things, the Schefflera should cover zones 5 and 6. That thing on the corner and the grass, the black grass, whatever you call it, will cover, you know, ground cover. Most of the ferns will cover 2 and 3, so I'm probably going to need something at level 4 and broad palmate in there when I go to get a plant. So it gives me a good little you know, not just going into garden centres buying stuff willy-nilly, hopefully, but we know how long that will last. So anyway, yeah, so we'll do a quick tour of the garden. Some stuff's moved, some stuff hasn't. We'll go through a few future plans for getting into winter now, what's worked and what hasn't, and yeah, we'll go from there. So we may as well start from this side. There's the cat. So Tracheospurnum, it's alive. It did flower, not very well. It's not, doesn't get amazing sun there, but it seems to be bushing out quite nice, so I'm pretty happy with that. I'm hoping that it'll kind of cover that thing in the end and sort of encroach into the pergola. It didn't quite reach there this year. Maybe what I need to do is just give it something to climb against, because it had a load of stuff sort of hanging off that didn't quite catch it, and I think if it would have just caught the wire, it would have then grown up that way. But yeah, you know, it's not dead. All that down there sort of, you know, okay, what can you say about it? Pretty standard. Yeah, it's an absolute S-tip in that corner. All that pipe work, I've had to bring it out of the garage, but I am just using it. You'll see the rest of it in a bit when we go over to the Lonicera. So over here, as I said in the last video, oh, the Cyathia's caught. It's not good. So yeah, so I've got the Fatsia japonica, the Fatsia spider's web down there. He's just rotated all his leaves now because I put them in the wrong way around, so all the leaves were sort of facing into the fence. I had to do that though because of the pipe, so I needed the trunk on it, or the stem, because it's bent, to sort of bend away from the pipes for the heating around the Cyathea. So hopefully that'll sort itself out now. Maidenhair's doing really well down there, actually kept it alive. Schefflera, which obviously went in at the beginning of the year, is throwing out some new leaves. So yeah, happy days really. Moving on round, I could do with the sword fern sizing up, because the aim of that is to protect the Cyathea, but it hasn't done a lot this year. But I do struggle with them actually. They're supposed to be pretty easy to grow, but I've killed 2. So yeah, we'll see how it does when it gets a winter under its belt. I've got a feeling some plants need a bit of cold. I noticed the other day after we had that 1 degree, and you can see there was 1.5, that a lot of the plants look really good the next morning. So i.e. the Schefflera, even the giant honeysuckle seemed to have a spring in its step when I went out the next day. Other than that, the Cyathea is doing all right. You can see it's like got loads to come out just at the wrong time of year. Now with this, I'll go through it more in a minute. I'm going to do a heating video next after this, just because I've got a bit of time and I'm doing it in the middle of doing it, as you'll see. But yeah, as long as I can keep the trunk and the roots alive, I'm happy. I don't think I've got any hope of keeping the foliage alive. I might be able to do a kind of banana with it, where where I would lift all the leaves in together, put a ring of bamboo around them, and then pack it with straw. But I don't think they'll look very good next year. And really, it should have thrown out 5 this year. 2 of them were my fault. I snapped 1 and I took the heating off too early, otherwise it would have had 5. So I think that's good enough, hopefully. Yeah, and then moving around, I don't know if everybody else's Dixonias are flushing, but mine just sent out 2 new fronds in the last couple of weeks. Fatsia's all in flower, doing quite well. Nice glossy leaves to them and that, so can't really say too much about that. Fig tree, I think what I'm going to try and do with this is, when next spring, I'm going to chop these 2 lower branches off it and just try and keep it up there and try and shape it a bit if I can. But we'll see. So down here, see this Cyathia's throwing out new. I didn't take the Atrata out in the end. I'll just leave it this year and do it next year maybe. And then the Hydrangea Samanii over there, you know, it's alive. That's about all I can say for it. Moving on around, this Fatsia's done all right. The fatsias are pretty robust, aren't they? This maiden hair down here is doing quite well. That's bushed right out, so happy with that. He looks quite good. And yeah, this, it is getting wet, this, but the leaves are browning off, so I'm not sure. This is 1 foot Dixonia I put in this year. It didn't have any fronds when I got it, so it's just throwing out these new ones. So like I said, with the winter, hopefully that will reset the clock on it and it will do all right. The spleniums are doing well. This thing didn't grow anywhere near as big as it got last year, so I don't know why exactly that was, but you know, I tend to just leave these things and let them sort themselves out. But although the worrying thing is that all the leaves on it last year protected this cyathea, which is not in a coil. So yeah, whether this one survives. But this one, it took probably a month. It started going a month later than the other one we just seen, but it's actually caught up and has got as many fronds on it now. So it just goes to show, you know, patience. You know, you don't need to worry about getting the full height. This Scheffler has done quite well this year. I'm really looking forward to seeing this one next year if it survives and goes up over. So yeah, happy days with that. Moving on around here, this Pilostagia verbenoides, we've got a few flowers on it, not much, only flowered for about a week, but it has grown some this year. It's gone all the way up here, so yeah, I'm happy with that. It's quite slow growing, so to see it performing quite well, and the foliage on it, I wouldn't want to say it's my favourite, but it's definitely up there, like the form on the foliage on that, and seems to do quite well there. This Blechnum is doing really well, Blechnum chilense, so good stuff with that. See another frond coming up on there. Canna's done well since I divided it last year, so I'll just leave that one in the ground. All I'll do with that for winter is when it all dies off and goes to mush, I'll chop them all off and then just chuck a couple of inches of mulch on it. And then yeah, so I finally got a splenium down there. That's a new one that's gone in. And then over here, I bought a new plant which the label, which the label has gone off. That is a Blechnum brasiliense volcano, right next to a Blechnum spicant strepeti. So hopefully that'll do all right. Looks like I left it in the pot for too long and it didn't get any water because I left it under the cover by the pergola in the corner. So it looks a bit straggly, but yeah, we'll leave it in there. You can see I've got all the mulch down as well for the most part. So that's good. And then where that label has blown off to for this plant, yeah, this one here, I'll put another asplenium in there. And yeah, this Scheffler has flushed out really well now. It's got past the slugs and all that, so happy days. Probably my favourite plant this year, other than the honeysuckle, has been this Atrata. It's done really well. It's just sent out a new flush, and it just sort of, yeah, even though it's in amongst loads of other stuff, it does sort of stand out. It's quite can't quite put my finger on what it is, but there's just something about it. I think it's probably the black stipe on it, and then when I'm looking at it from the house, obviously it's got the backing of the fence behind it, so it definitely does stand out, and the form's pretty good on it, so happy days. Clematis almendia, which went in earlier this year, is doing quite well. I'm just going to leave that to take over really. The idea is when I get the waterfall done in this corner, which will probably be in spring, it grows up over and meets the other one, which is going, you can see it all hanging down behind the cycad there. So yeah, it's good. When we talk about this corner, you can see I potted up the bamboo in the end. Yeah, the Insetti's doing, it's done all right. It's in a pot. I don't really expect it to get massive, but it survived. It looks quite nice here. It fills the space for now. I'll put that in a bigger pot. What I'll probably do with that is I'll take it over by the patio and under the cover, and then if we're going to get a particularly hard frost, I'll drag it inside the house and just leave it inside the living room door. And then drag it back out in the morning, because the wife, she's all right with the amount of plants I have inside, but you know, I can't take the mickey too much, otherwise I will feel the rage. Yeah, these two, I just weeded them and mulched them, so they're okay. Thinking about getting something else up here in the top of this plant. Just they survive these rabbit's foot ferns, Ariostaga parvipinnatas, but they're not big, they're not getting big, and I think they kind of can take sun, but they're not happy, so that's good. It gives me something to think about, you know, when I'm out and about at the garden centres. If I see something nice in there, I can put it in there. We may as well go over here. So yeah, here's the, oh yeah, this pot hasn't got any drainage holes, as you can see, so I better tip all that out in a minute before that suffocates that plant. So probably the star of the year was this giant honeysuckle. It is still going absolutely crazy. So yeah, I think with this, what will happen is anything that's lime green, because it's still growing flat out, this thing, like absolutely flat out. Anything lime green that you can sort of see there won't survive the winter. Probably a lot of the leathery green either won't particularly survive. It might do, depending on what we get. The most important thing for me is that the actual plant survives, because as the roots get bigger, I assume it'll grow quicker and quicker each year. So my main thing, what I'm doing now, I'm actually, if you look on the bench, you can see I've got the all my things out for it. So I've just been actually doing this the last hour or so, is just tapping into this old coil that I had, and then not zip tying it, but tying it underneath the trunk. And the idea was I was going to follow the trunk all the way up in a coil, but the trunk goes off in different directions, so I'm just working out how I'm going to do it. I've got it all the way up to there, and then the one bit that I do want to keep if I can is this diagonal bit that's coming across here. And then what I'm going to do with this next year, I'm going to leave it this year as it is and just see what dies off and what doesn't. And then next year what I'll do, because I want a bit of a definite line between the Clematis armandii there and the Lonicera, because it's all a bit higgledy-piggledy at the moment. So probably somewhere in line with my finger like that is have like a definite sort of barrier between them. So when it starts growing next year, all I'll do is I'll just go up, cut everything that's growing to the left, and then hopefully that will force all the growth to the right. And if that bit is already growing up there, because if you think, if this was spring now and they were all like that flopping over the pergola, that thing will go right the way across all of that. I've also, we'll get to it in a minute, but I'm going to put one in the corner over there by the lantern that you can just see by the window, and hopefully, because this thing's growing out, you know, the sun's directly behind me now, and this is the direction it's all growing to. So if I put one in that corner, that should make it grow out towards us as well. So yeah, that should work, hopefully. But yeah, I'm going to get into the heating in a minute. Otherwise, around here, the one that failed this year is probably this Scheffler, not for any fault of its own. You can see the slugs have been at it constantly. So I was umming and ahhing about what to do with it. I think what I'm going to do is take these rocks out and put them in the front garden for now, just to act as cat defenders and to keep the slugs, because it's like a big, you know, slug hotel in there basically, and they can just walk straight across it, so it's not even difficult for them to get to. But what I'm going to do is let it have a winter, see if it flushes in the spring. If it does, then happy days. Hopefully the slugs it won't be so easy for the slugs to get to it. If it doesn't and it dies over winter, then I probably won't put anything in there straight away. I'll buy a Scheffler, another Scheffler Taiwaniana, and then I'll put it in at this time of year next year, and then hopefully it'll catch up with the rest, because it's obviously supposed to mimic the bananas I had in here and create like archways over the entrance to the patio when I get it done. Another long lost forgotten one, which I'm going to take out, is this Lamatia ferrugini down there. It's totally, everything in here has been totally swamped by the honeysuckle, which is good, and I'm quite proud of my achievement of getting the giant honeysuckle to flower this year. I in my heart of hearts, I didn't think I'd get it to flower, and it actually flowered pretty profusely. easy for me to say. Yeah, so with the flowers, it flowered for quite a long time, but each flower only lasted a day or two, but it just went some. So I'm pretty happy with that. We've got a few little berries on it as well. So yeah, I think next year, depends on what winter we have, next year is going to be key for this thing. This Lophosauria is doing okay. It's sort of spreading horizontally, if you know what I mean. It's sort of, you know, it may even fill the whole thing up as well. So that's pretty good. Around here, so I did divide up the big Lophosauria that was dying. I took it out, and I also took out from behind this, we'll go and look at it in a minute, but this is a cut off of the Blechnum chilense. So yeah, that Blechnum chilense, it's not like crazy runner, but it does run. So I bought one original plant and I've now got what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 or 5 of them. So it's pretty good. It's, you know, it will take it, hopefully it will take that there, and we'll see what happens with it. So speaking of the middle bed, let's go over and have a little look. So I put this thing in the ground. This is that fern, I keep calling it paella. That's probably just me being hungry. There's the label for it. Pelea rotundifolia. I have no idea what that means, and Latin is not my strong point. But yeah, other than that, it's all going quite well really. So Scheffler, this one's flushed, it's looking quite good. And then yeah, so I divided the other Lophosauria. There's a chunk of it there, and then there's a chunk of it in a pot as well, which I'll have to see if it survives and do what it does. And then this conifer here was over by the giant honeysuckle. I took it out because it was getting swamped again. So yeah, pretty happy with that generally. Yeah, let's move on. So yeah, you can see all my pipe work. I'll go through all the heating in another video in a sec. And then yeah, down here on the last little bit, Tetrapanax has settled in now. That's going to look quite good. I think I'm going to take that Drottrix Wallichiana out and probably fill that with that black grass. I think that'll look quite nice. This Dixonia here, you can see it's still going absolutely crazy. Got 2 or 3 new fronds coming out. Yeah, I don't know what to do with that. I will think about that. But camellias are doing all right, and yeah, these are 2 honeysuckle cuttings that I took last year. So the bigger one of the 2, I'll put it in the corner next to the lantern, and hopefully it'll go up that corner bit. Yeah, you can see I've moved the art as well, and then I'll decide what to go in. I'll decide what to go in there as well. And then what I'll do with the other one is I'm going to build around here. I'm going to do a similar thing, but obviously not as big as that with the rocks, but just build a similar bed to what we were just looking at, and maybe put one of the honeysuckles going up around there or something like that, just, you know, because why not generally. So yeah, you can see all the magic potions that the kids been making, and the tools for putting in stuff and all that. So yeah, next thing is going to be, once I've just got the heating so it's ready to turn on, just in case we get any frost, is to tidy up all this. So take this stuff out of the pots and divide it up and chuck them in new pots, get all the rocks out of there, or put them into size order so that when I do the waterfall I can just measure up and go, oh, 30 centimeters wide, and come and find it, and not have to go through every stone every time I want a stone. If you've ever done any dry stone work, you'll know what I mean. And yeah, so other things that I've been quite surprised about is the passion flowers. They've done quite well. They're not amazingly like bushy, but they don't have flower for a long time. This thing's been flowering since I put it in there, and it's still flowering now, I think. Yeah, there you go, one there. So that's quite, you know, they're quite nice ones. And going all right. It's nearly reached the top as well, and this one has reached the top. And seeing as it's just coming out of a pot, that's pretty good going. This is just the standard one. Need to take that little Tetrapanax pup out of there, and yeah, that'll do that. So there's the other bit of the Lophosauria. I chopped off all the brown bits. Seems to be okay. I'm not entirely convinced. To me, it looks a bit rough down there. But we'll see. We've got this new one coming off to the right, which you can see is on a different crown. So maybe if this lot all dies off and I'm left with just a small plant, you know, it is what it is. And then we've got the fibrosa, which will be easy to take in, and the 2 Nephrolopus, which would be easy to take in as well. So yeah, once I've got all these rocks out the way and sorted and it's winterized, I can put all the utility pipes in there properly. Then I can put the wood around and face up all of that pipe work there. And yeah, that'll be good then. So yeah, moving forward, I'm going to sort the heating out, just get that so it's up and running, and then next thing will be that patio there where the thingy is, the washing line and seat and all that. So yeah, it's not, I mean, from my point of view, it's not been a bad year. Ferns have loved it, so I can't really complain at that. Haven't had to turn on the irrigation, even though I've got absolutely loads of water now. So that's a wasted effort, but I'm sure it'll come in handy one day. And yeah, that's about it really. So yeah, hope you're all having a good one and enjoying this fine Saturday. I'm going to carry on with the heating and we'll go from there. So yeah, we may as well have one last look at the only flower in the garden, which is this, and it looks a bit sorry for itself, so there you go. Anyway, hope you're having a good one. I will see you next time. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.